Morning, everybody. Well, here we are in the part of my story, which is about the day that changed my life. I know that this one's going to be difficult. I have Kleenex on standby for myself and for anybody else who might need it. Um, but yeah, just to recap from last week, I had just gotten back into the North End again, but in GP or General Patrol for a year. And then in the spring of 2023, I was fortunate enough to have earned a position in the beat unit, which was likely going to be my swan song, as it were. Um, and as with most positions, interdivisionally or in specialty units, you start in late April or May. And I was lucky enough to get partnered up with just a fucking great dude. And we clicked right away. And I was really looking forward to the next 3 years, barring any unforeseen changes work-wise, finishing out that way. But fuck. On the morning of June 14th, 2023, started out pretty normal for me. Alarm went off at 5:30. Took care of business, had a shower, and as usual, started the coffee pot and took my dog Frankie for a walk before work. Some mornings at that hour I was slow to rise. That morning, I was moving relatively quickly. And got back from a short 2-block walk and poured my coffee in my travel mug, put all my gear in my saddlebags, hopped on my bike, my Vulcan, and started down the usual route that I took to work. Which for me, from home, I get on to Uville and head north to Marion, and then east, and then north again on Archibald, which eventually becomes Watt Street. And I take that route because we see so, and on the job you see so much of downtown and the worst parts of the concrete jungle. I just kind of try to like to avoid that route as much as possible to have a more peaceful ride. Listening to some tunes while I'm riding along, and I get to Talbot and Watt, which is usually where I turn westbound or left because I'm going north. And that's the last thing that I remember. Although, so I turn westbound onto Watt, and I didn't see anything coming. But I remember the physical feeling of tremendous fucking impact. For those of you who've ever been in a car accident, you know what that's like. I didn't see anything leading up to it. I didn't. For people that have seen the video, which I never have and don't want to, I had no time. I didn't see anything coming, never mind a minivan. But one of the last things I remember after making that turn is just fucking wham. And lights out. The mechanics of the accident as such, from witnesses and from the investigation, the van turned into my path as I was going west. head on. I don't think it was at super high speed, but it wasn't at a crawling pace. So I flew into the handlebars. And so, as I'm going through these details, of course, these are things that I learned about through medical charts, through people telling me the story weeks and days later. It's not like I remember all this in chronological order, but I'm going to do my best to tell it that way, so as to really get the description of the incident itself down. And what doctors and surgeons believe that busted my hips and my pelvis. The injury called an open book fracture. So you can picture, I'm not a doctor, I haven't even played one on TV, an open book fracture, your pelvis, kind of like this, and an open book. Everything just splays open because my hips. I'm not going to stand up and give you a crotch shot. No one wants to see that, least of all me. But just hitting the handlebars with such force. And then going head first into the windshield. If you've seen the picture, you'll see where my head hit the fucking windshield. I don't remember if it's at that moment or slightly before where my helmet gets ripped off my head. And then I go flying. I don't know if it was end over end, but I go flying over the minivan. And guys can, from traffic or what will know, exactly how far I flew, do all those measurements and stuff. But I think I went flying about 20 feet or 20 meters over the minivan, landing straight on my ass, literally, which is why my tailbone was vertically sheared. So, ass hits pavement, tailbone vertically sheared, and my prized asshole, my rectum, damn near killed him, was ruptured. Of course, I'm either passed out at that point or everything's happening so fast, I'm in shock. I don't remember it. But one thing that I consistently recall, and I don't know if it's true or not, but what my fucking brain tells me, or what I remember, is letting out sort of a puff or a sigh. But my lips are touching the pavement. And lights out again, or lights out for good at that point. And then, I don't remember people coming to help me. But apparently one woman who lived nearby who saw the accident or heard me screaming, which I don't remember at all. But apparently I was. And apparently I was screaming so fucking bad that some woman, another woman who heard it, it gave her nightmares. That woman knows my tattoo artist, and I heard that story weeks or months later, I think while I was still in the hospital. So anyway, but this woman came to help me, and I believe this other woman came to help me, and sorry for the choppiness, but hey, that's the way she goes. Covered me with a blanket, and apparently she was integral in telling people not to touch me and not to move me, because she understood, that my injuries were catastrophic. Vaguely thinks that someone told me that she was a nurse, but I'm not 100% on that. A funny part, not that any of that's funny, but apparently some homeless dude gathered up all my shit that had flown all over the place, cell phone, earbuds, this pocket, that pocket, gathered them all up and something. That's weird. Anyway, I remember thinking it was funny when I was told that. And then, somebody called the ambulance. Firefighters got there first, and a couple of them started to assess me. I got to meet those guys months after I'd been discharged home already, which was awesome. Then the ambulance guys came, and they're the ones who do, and even the paramedics, so they do the more complete assessment. And from having met them and having them at home, which was awesome, again, meeting them like the summer after I'd been discharged in January of last year, so it was so important to me to meet them, and because I needed to know and hear things from them. It was so great to meet them in person. And how often do paramedics and firefighters get any follow-up with any of their patients, especially critical ones? Probably never in their double decade or more career, or extremely rarely. That's something that we will more often do, is follow up with victims, just through the nature of our jobs. But those two dudes saved my life. It's never enough. It's not enough for me to say that they were just doing their job. Their assessment and stabilization of me, if it didn't save my life, it prevented my injuries from becoming more severe. So they would have gotten me into the ambulance after stabilizing me, most likely with the help of the firefighters already on scene. And from talking to the guys when they came to my house, the two paramedics, they realized that I was either one of them or that I was another first responder or a cop, because I had, of course, an old pair of duty boots on. And I don't remember if they found my wallet in my jacket or not, because I usually get my wallet with my work ID and badge and all that in my right hand pocket. So they got me in the ambulance, and I'm guessing, if I remember correctly, I went critical unstable to Health Sciences Center. One of the things that's key to remember is that, and I've said it before in videos and or discussions with friends and families, that this accident didn't just happen to me. This collision didn't just happen to me. It happened to all of us. And that means my wife, my daughter, my family, mom, brother, and all that. But it also happened to my friends and to the guys and gals in blue. Because there are so many things about it that are traumatic for them. And, I can talk for days about how this affected me mentally, physically, the injuries, scars, memories and stuff like that. But I can never really appreciate it, no matter how much I talk about it, from those guys and gals that were directly involved. And one of my best friends, whom I had worked with soon after his field training, was in the resus, RESUS room at HSC. And for any first responder here in town, cop, firefighter, ambulance attendant, that's where shit's fucking chaotic. where you see the blood, the gore, people being resuscitated, clothes being cut off, contorted, twisted bodies, blood all over the place. And it's an image that never leaves your mind, at least for the kid. And those who know me know him and know who I'm talking about. And that's something that I think I only really heard for the first time in his victim impact statement as he told it. Because he had to see me on that table. A million people around me, nurses and doctors and paramedics. Working to assess, minimize my injuries, save my life, and stabilize me. And he can tell me if I'm wrong, but as he reads his victim impact statement the next year in court, you know, it's an image that'll never leave his mind, that every time he goes to the hospital or goes into the, specifically in the resus room, he sees that. So, you know, people need to know that that's how it affects us all. The other, I think, significant thing about that day, and of course I only remember from being told it many times, is that my partner on the beat and one of my old supervisors who was in general patrol, I was on the beat, but we're also working that day, it came to the hospital. Lots of people came to the hospital that day. People of all ranks and different shirt colors. I'm told that at one point in the hallway, I believe leading up to surgery or to ICU, that it was so congested with cops that the doctor had said that it was too much and that people needed to start leaving. I'd always found that hard to believe and shocking, because there were plenty of people whom I caused great headaches for. Excuse me. I'm not going to edit out that snot. Lots of bosses that chewed me out, that I created lots of sighs and headaches for. Lots of partners that perhaps early on in their career when they were new, I gave them sleepless nights. And people for whom I had to defend my actions. And I always figured I was a bit of a pain in the ass, and I never really thought of myself as, and I still don't, as somebody who was popular or well thought of or respected or loved or whatever, you know. But a lot of people showed up that day, and I like to think that, and I believe, because I'm told, that it's more than just because it was a fellow cop. So anyway, got sidetracked there, sorry. My partner and one of my former supervisors were in the elevator with me on the stretcher, I think after having been told that by the nurses that you can't come with him, you can't be in the room when he goes in there. So maybe it was surgery or whatever the fuck, if it was just ICU. And one of my moments of consciousness that I don't remember having happened was apparently I looked up at them and said, "This fucking sucks." Which, it's funny how you can be conscious and say something like that, which is at the time so significant, because it's a bit of an all-encompassing statement. And I just don't fucking remember it. I don't remember much for the next couple of days. But as I'm told, they kept me in a medically induced coma because of the pain, because of the injuries. I think when I was in the elevator, at that point, I was already opened up and packed because I had a lot of internal bleeding. Pretty sure. But yeah, so there was a few surgeries over the next few days. I had to get my bunghole sewn up. Feel bad for the doctor that had to do that. Which means I had to have a fucking stoma made. Shit bag, plastic bag in my gut. Don't remember any of that, of course. And in particular, I think one marathon surgery session of something like 16 or 17 hours. For some reason, those numbers are in my head. I got all the Terminator shit put in the back of my neck. Got some lovely scars back there, but this gorgeous hair is covering those up and probably will for life. And other surgeries, fucking metal rod in my leg and knee all fucked. I don't think I had a knee surgery then, but my knee was all buggered up. Busted arm, but again, I don't think that was discovered until a little bit later. And then all my internal bleeding and concussion, face all fucking bruised and blood all over and blood on my hands and purple blue finger fucking tips and everything and I got these fucking, I gotta find the pictures and put them on another episode. My tailbone that was vertically sheared, so I've got what looked like large diameter 3.5-inch deck screws, keeping those pieces of the puzzle together and kind of going across in behind of where my junk would be, which you kind of see on the x-rays. So sorry if I ever put those out there, but yeah, it's just so odd to see these big fucking screws in your tailbone attaching to your pelvis. And the other fucking thing that I had was called an X-Fix, and it's an external fixation device. I think that might be by heart. It's a rectangular metal box that keeps my pelvis together at the front, drilled through the fucking skin into my hips. Just fucking brutal. I'll talk more about that later. It's just fucking horrible. And I know I'm going on. I'm into the 23-minute mark. Trying to, it's a lot that day. And so yeah, all those surgeries and neck surgeons and people that saved my life, and thank God I didn't need a halo, which is one of those external things that's like a band, and then these metal rods to secure your spine, cervical spine specifically, because I had a whole bunch of vertebrae that were busted and were fused, hence all the Terminator bullshit. I'll put that picture up because it really gives you a sense about what was done. So I got away with a fucking neck collar, and then of course when I was in ICU I had to be on a ventilator tube down your fucking throat and all that bullshit, and I was on a steady supply of drugs for the first few days, and I really don't have my first memory until I was in the ICU. I think 2 or 3 days after all the surgeries, so post collision 3 or 4 days, something like that, when I start having memories and sort of waking up and having fucking dreams. But yeah, I was on a steady diet of fentanyl, ketamine, and hydromorphone all at once. And let me tell you, I saw some crazy ass shit, which I just accepted and believed to be reality. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next episode. Because it's going to take a few times to get into all the details. And so again, I apologize for being sort of chaotic and disorganized in my telling of the story. But hey, that's what a thing like that does. And I'm still here, and it'll be good to go through the rest of it. Not so that people have sympathy for me, but just, I guess, clarification on the impact something like that has on someone physically, mentally, and all that stuff, and so that people have a greater understanding of how it impacted everyone around me and all that kind of crap. And of course, I even have a lot more that I'm realizing now that I forgot about that day of, because there were some other close friends of mine who were working and involved in some of the tasks that they had to do that day. But like, we're getting close to 30 minutes now, so I'm sorry about that. We'll get into more shit next time, and until then, just everyone who watches any of my videos, part of my story, I appreciate it very much, and I'm just looking to get things off my chest, to get better, to continue to move forward, to help other people understand, and hopefully this helps people going through traumatic stuff. Because if an old fucking salty vet such as myself can make it through an incident like this, if it helps one other person, then I'm happy. Because I am but one man who hard-headed enough and stubborn enough to survive. And I look forward to talking more about it next time. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Do what you need to unload difficult shifts, difficult tours, and talk about stuff with each other, and if not, somebody else, professional or otherwise. Deal with the shit that we see every day that is difficult, and you'll be healthier and happier for it. As always, if things are feeling really rough, get a hold of a member of the Behavioral Health Unit or a peer support member, or talk to your supervisors if you feel comfortable doing that. Take the time that you need on days off, or if something happens on a working day. And yeah, love you guys. Take care. Bye.